Welcome to A State of Grace Wellbeing podcast. I'm Grace, an energy alignment practitioner, and today I want to explore something that I think we often underestimate. Who and what is influencing your vibration? Because we don't move through life in isolation. Every day we are interacting with people, places, conversations, information, expectations, and environments. And whether we realize it or not, some of those things leave us feeling lighter, clearer, and more energized. Others can leave us feeling heavy, depleted, unsettled, or simply off. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately sensed that something didn't feel right? Nobody had said anything. Nothing obvious had happened, but you could feel it. Or perhaps you've spent time with someone and afterwards thought, gosh, I feel exhausted. And then there are those beautiful people in our lives where the opposite happens. You might spend an hour together, perhaps walking, having a cup of tea, or simply chatting, and afterwards you feel brighter. You feel more like yourself. So what is happening? We are constantly responding to our environment. When I talk about vibration, I'm talking about the energetic quality we bring into our lives and the way we respond to the energy around us. You might think of it as your internal frequency, your emotional state, your thoughts, your physical well-being, your surroundings, and your relationships can all influence it. And I think sometimes we assume our mood is entirely our own. We wake up feeling flat and think, what's wrong with me today? But perhaps a more interesting question is, what have I been exposed to lately? What conversations have I been having? Who have I been spending time with? What have I been watching? Yes. What have I been reading? What am I listening to? And what is happening in the physical spaces around me? Because all of these things can influence how we feel. Think about the people around you. Now, I want to be careful here because I don't believe this is about labeling people as having good energy or bad energy. Human beings are far more complex than that. We all have difficult days. We all carry worries, frustrations, grief, fear, and uncertainty. But there may be relationships in your life where you notice a pattern. Perhaps there is someone who constantly complains, someone who always seems to be involved in drama, someone who subtly criticizes you, someone who expects you to hold their emotional load. Or perhaps there is someone around whom you find yourself shrinking. You become quieter, you second guess yourself, you leave the interaction feeling somehow less than you were before. And then consider the people who have the opposite effect. The friend who makes you laugh, the person who encourages your ideas rather than immediately telling you why they won't work, the person who listens without needing to fix you, the person whose presence somehow gives you permission to be completely yourself. Notice the difference. Your body often knows before your mind has worked it out. But people aren't the only influence. This is where I think the conversation becomes really interesting, because your vibration isn't only influenced by the people around you. It's influenced by what you repeatedly allow into your awareness. Think about your phone for a moment. How often do you pick it up without consciously deciding to? Perhaps you check the news, then Facebook, then Instagram, then your emails, and perhaps you read an unsettling story, then an angry comment, then someone else's seems perfect life, and within 10 minutes your internal landscape has completely changed. Nothing has actually happened to you. You're sitting in exactly the same chair, drinking the same cup of tea. But internally, everything has shifted. This doesn't mean we need to stop watching the news or disappear from social media. It's about awareness. What am I consuming, and how does it leave me feeling? Because just as we think about what we put into our bodies, perhaps we also need to think about what we're putting into our minds and our energetic space. Your physical environment matters too. Take a moment to think about the spaces where you spend most of your time. How do you feel? Is there clutter everywhere? Is your desk covered in things that quietly remind you of everything you haven't done? Is there a room you've been meaning to sort out for months? Are there objects around you you don't even like anymore, but they've simply become part of the scenery? Our surroundings can create a kind of background hum, something we don't realize how much energy something has been taking until we change it. You clear the desk, you open the windows, you move the furniture, light a candle, bring in some flowers, put on music that you love, and suddenly the room feels different. But perhaps more importantly, you feel different in the room. That's energy alignment in a very practical sense. You're intentionally shaping your environment so that it supports the way you want to feel. And then there is your own inner voice. Of course, not every influence comes from outside us. Sometimes the loudest influence on our vibration is the conversation happening inside our own heads. I'm behind. I should be doing more. I'm not good enough. What if it doesn't work? Everyone else seems to have this figured out. If those thoughts are playing quietly in the background all day, they're going to affect how you feel. They're going to influence the energy you bring into your conversations, into your work, into your relationships, into the decisions you make. And I don't think the answer is to plaster positive affirmations everywhere and pretend difficult feelings don't exist. Instead, perhaps we simply become curious. Is this thought helping me? Is it actually true? and is the energy I want to carry forward. So, what are you tuning yourself to? I love thinking about this through the lens of sound. If you've ever heard two instruments that are slightly out of tune with one another, you can feel the discordance. Something doesn't quite settle. But when they're brought into harmony, there's a sense of resolution. Our lives can be a little like that. We are constantly tuning ourselves through the people we choose to spend time with, through the conversations we participate in, through the content we consume, through our surroundings, through music, through nature, through movement, through silence, through the stories we tell ourselves. And perhaps the question isn't, how do I keep my vibration high all the time? Because I don't think that's realistic. Life happens. We experience sadness, anger, disappointment, grief, and exhaustion. Those emotions aren't failures of vibration. They're part of being a human being. A more useful question might be, what helps me return to alignment? That's very different, because alignment doesn't mean being happy all the time. It means noticing when something has pulled you away from yourself and knowing how to find your way back. A little vibration audit. So sometime today, I'd like you to try something. Take a piece of paper and write down these 4 headlines. People, places, input, inner voice. And underneath each one, simply notice what is there. Who leaves you feeling energized? Who leaves you depleted? Where do you feel peaceful? Where do you feel unsettled? What are you regularly watching, reading, or listening to? And what is the tone of the conversation you're having with yourself? There's no judgment required. You're simply gathering information. And then ask yourself one final question. What would I like to experience more of? Maybe it's more time outside. More conversations with people who inspire you. Less scrolling. More music. Less clutter. More silence. More laughter. More time around people with whom you don't have to perform. Maybe it's giving yourself 5 minutes each morning before allowing the rest of the world into your head. These might seem like very small choices, but small choices repeated become the atmosphere of our lives. And the atmosphere of our lives influences how we show up in the world. Before you go, I'd like to leave you with this thought. You don't need to control every energy around you. You don't need to avoid every difficult person or uncomfortable situation. And you certainly don't need to maintain some perfectly elevated vibration every moment of the day. But you can become more discerning about what you allow to repeatedly influence you. You can notice. You can choose. You can recalibrate. And perhaps that's where our power really lies. Not in controlling everything around us, but in becoming more intentional about what we tune ourselves to. So, this week, notice who influences your vibration? What influences your vibration? And most importantly, what helps you return to the vibration of the person you want to be? I'm Grace, and this has been a State of Grace Wellbeing podcast. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself and perhaps be just a little more intentional about what you allow into your energetic space.